I want to bring in Congressman Max Rose right now to the conversation. First of all, Congressman, well done on the 2 weeks that you served with the National Guard. Tell me what you were doing here in New York City as you served there.
Thank you so much for having me. Look, anything that I did, and I say this humbly, pales in comparison to the service that I saw. We were tasked with the mission of standing up a temporary COVID-only facility under the leadership of the Governor Cuomo, pre-ICU and post-ICU, part of this critical effort to build out additional capacity for COVID patients, which has got to be at the top of our list as we consider opening up this economy. It was soldiers working alongside medical professionals. And I will just tell you this, because we're all looking for optimism right now during these incredibly arduous times. During that last huddle before seeing our first patient, we had the men and women in uniform from the Fighting 69th Infantry Regiment applauding the men and women of our frontline medical professionals in their own uniform. That gave me all the confidence I need that we're going to get through this as Americans.
Yeah. Well, let's go to the other hat that you wear, sir, as a congressman. And I'm just going to set this up by saying it was somewhat fiery, a speech that you gave on the House floor with regard to that which was encompassed in this most recent relief bill. You found a couple things that were lacking. Let's let our viewers take a listen to what you had to say about it. Here it is, everyone.
Only in Washington, D.C. would we wait weeks when we all agree. But let's move forward, because our frontline workers right now cannot afford for us to stand by for politics. Leader McConnell said to our cities and states, to our cops and firemen and teachers, he told them to drop dead. Well, why don't we put politics aside, rise up, and tell him that we put the country first?
Specifically speaking there to Senate Leader Mitch McConnell. And it's also something that New York Governor Andrew Cuomo was dressing something similarly, perhaps not as fiery, but he was pretty firm, I'll say. Is this all about politics right now?
Well, let's look at what Mitch McConnell said when he said to our states and localities, you might as well go bankrupt. First of all, incredibly immoral and cold to tell our cops and our firemen and our nurses, our bus drivers who are on the front lines right now, who we now call essential workers, to, for all intents and purposes, drop dead because you're going to lose your job no matter how much we need you. It was also incredibly inequitable at a time when New York, for years, decades, has sent billions upon billions of dollars to not only the federal government, but through the federal government to Mitch McConnell's home state, money that we do not get back. We are a giver state, not one that receives more money. For Mitch McConnell to now say that during our time of need is blindly ignorant. But let's not forget about the fact that what Mitch McConnell just said is incredibly stupid. At a moment where consumer demand is going down, as a consequence, tax revenue is going down, confidence in our economy going down, to allow for our cities and states to go bankrupt will hit the market in ways that we cannot even understand at this point. So Mitch McConnell was being immoral, ignorant, and stupid with one comment, but he tried to do the same thing with the Victims' Compensation Fund. When we wanted to be there for 9/11 first responders, he said, I don't know how much this is going to cost. I don't know if we can do it. And thousands upon thousands of first responders from across the country went down to Washington, D.C., advocated, fought, and we beat Mitch McConnell. Well, we're going to beat him again. And we're going to get that aid to states and localities.
It reminds me, as I was listening to Governor Cuomo, I believe it was on Thursday, and he was really making a ruckus about this as well, targeting Mitch McConnell. I think he identified Kentucky as being the state that takes the third greatest amount of federal funding with regard to New York State being a really giver state. He was saying that as well, echoing your sentiments there. I do want to talk to you about the funding for the Paycheck Protection Program, because I know, sir, that you are calling on 4 major banks to prioritize the truly small businesses, do that over the large corporations. Talk about your reasoning, and can you guarantee that's going to get done?
Oh, absolutely. And look, we are balancing 2 really urgent matters here. One is that we have to get this capital out very quickly to our businesses that are in need. If we entered into some type of legislative analysis paralysis and waited a few months to make this perfect, by the time that we got the capital out, these businesses would no longer exist and their workers would certainly be on unemployment at the best. So we have to get this money out, but we also have to make sure that it gets to the areas in need. And that requires that these entities that we are using as intermediaries, most especially the large banks, it requires that they be fair and judicious partners here and not just allocate the money to those who they have the best relationships with, not just allocate the money to those who are the best capitalized. They have to play this role. And in my letter, I'm certainly calling on them to play that role. I've got too many small businesses on Staten Island in South Brooklyn that haven't necessarily borrowed incredible amounts of money, but still have a banking relationship with one of the large banks, and they deserve their fair share.
Okay. Great way to start this hour. I want to thank all three of you so much. Congressman Max Rose, Dr. Kavita Patel, Joseph Fair. Appreciate all your voices in the conversation.